Hey belly dancers and medieval lancers, not gonna belly dance for you. This is a family channel. Hey everybody, my name is John and welcome to ADITW, a day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. Whew. Usually I make a joke here, but let's just read. Today we are in Colossians chapter 2, and I want to start by reading in verse 20. Verse 20 says, "Since you died with Christ to the elemental spiritual forces of this world, why, as though you still belong to the world, do you submit to its rules? Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch. These rules, which have to do with things that are all destined to perish with use, are based merely on human commands and teachings. Such regulations indeed have an appearance of wisdom with their self-imposed worship, their false humility, and their harsh treatment of the body, but they lack any value in restraining sensual indulgence." If you were here last week, you know that this book of Colossians was written to a community of Christians that were really struggling with accepting the simplicity of the gospel message. And so they started adding their own man-made rules and regulations and traditions to it. And here, Paul calls out those man-made rules and regulations directly. And there's something here that we should clarify as we move forward. And that's that these verses are not saying that all rules are bad, or that we as Christians don't have any commands or statutes that we need to follow. It's just that in this circumstance, these believers are following rules that A, are man-made rather than God-given, or B, they are following them for the wrong reasons. There's a big difference between following commands so that Jesus will love you and following commands because he already does. And something we should all keep in mind is that when it comes to our faith, rules without Christ restrain us. When we become obsessed with following the rules and checking the boxes and doing all the right things, we actually get trapped in legalism and idolatry. And what can eventually happen is following these rules actually restrain us from experiencing the real transformation that Jesus wants to bring. And let's be real here, this is not just a word for those who are new believers, but this is just as relevant for those of us who have been following Jesus for a while. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like the more time I spend around Christian culture, the more confused I get around what is actually a command or mandate of God versus what is something that is just a popular fad in the church today. And so wherever we are on our spiritual journey, we have to be careful to remain Jesus followers and not fall into the trap of becoming Christian culture followers. And again, let's remember, it's not that our behavior doesn't matter. It's just that behavior alone cannot transform a life. Only a relationship with Jesus can truly transform a life. And so as you go today, I hope you remember that simply following rules, that's not how we get to know Jesus. However, it is one of the natural results of knowing him. A little hint for next week. Foreshadowing. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching this episode of ADITW. As always, I want to give a big shout out to all of our supporters on Patreon, especially Tyler Woody, who is a producer of this show. Thank you to all of you who give to help make this show and this entire channel possible. If you're interested in joining that group of patrons, you can visit the Patreon link in the description down below, and you can do that today. That's all I have for this week. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next week on ADITW. I love you all. Keep being awesome.